Okay, so yeah, just a quick intro. I've in my 6th year teaching here now, started in 2013, and one of the consistent things I've been hearing from the master's students is it'd be nice if we had some more support, more investment in career development, career preparation. And so it's something that Bob Curtis and Larry and I had been thinking about for a couple of years. And so last year at this time, we decided, you know what, we need to really make sure our current students understand the power of the Biola Alumni Network. And so we had our first alumni panel, and we're going to continue with that tonight. Now, the 24 of you who are in my class, and we'll be getting together after this panel about 7:30, we're going to be leveraging right off this discussion. I'm going to be talking to you guys about an assignment you're going to have this semester around networking, and you're going to be doing a couple of information interviews with Biola alumni, and you've got some pretty good candidates right here, so you might even want to take advantage of these people who are speaking here. But we're going to continue the discussion after this ends tonight in my class. But to get things rolling here, I'm just going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, tell you when they got their degree here at Biola, and then we'll get into our discussion.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? All right. So Brent Oswald, and I graduated in 2008. Currently, right now, I work for a healthcare architectural firm. I am not an architect. I am an MBA. I handle a lot of the business functions within the firm, and I am actually a partner of an architectural firm, which is fairly rare to not be an architect.
Good evening. I'm Tasha Higgins. I graduated in May 2017 with my MBA. I got a civil engineering degree, so I am an engineer. Oh, sorry, Brent, but anyway. And I own a civil engineering project management firm. I started that in 2011, and I usually put this in my little intro. I have 5 children while I was getting my MBA, so you can do anything.
That's right. I don't have 5 children. My name is Edgar Ordonez. I'm a registered nurse and department administrator for Kaiser Permanente in one of the medical office buildings out over at East Los Angeles. I graduated from Biola in December 2016, and that's it.
All right. I'm Matt Dale. I graduated in December 2012, so it's been a little while. Although it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. Driving back here, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then I'm like, wow. Okay, it's been a while. I didn't have kids when I was in the program. I have 2 now. And I'm the VP of Customer Support at Illuminate Education. We're a K-12 software school product for schools here in the U.S. And I think we're in most of the states, and we've got a bunch of different products, and it's been a lot of fun kind of growing with that company from employee number 22 to I think we just topped 550 now. So a lot of growth, which has been interesting, kind of an MBA in itself.
All right. Joaquin Gentry. I graduated from the MBA program here in May of 2014. It's been a few years. I work as I'm a director with KPMG. I work in our M&A strategy practice, and basically work with clients on doing mergers and acquisitions across the country and across the world.
Okay, well, let's thank you for your introductions. Let's get into this topic of networking and who you know versus what you know and why that's so important for career advancement. And maybe I'll, Joaquin, start with you and work our way back down. If you could maybe talk a little bit about how in your career the importance or the place for building and nurturing a network. How has that kind of helped you in your career journey?
I mean, in short, it's been everything. I'll start off by saying I graduated undergrad with a degree in electrical engineering and knew nothing about consulting. And now I can imagine myself doing anything but consulting. But a lot of that was from talking with different people, even as an engineer and looking for the next career move, the next opportunity, or looking for what I really want to do. It was networking with friends and other people saying, hey, have you thought about consulting? Have you tried consulting? Nope, never thought about it. Had no idea what it was. Talked to a couple of people about it. And then fast forward, I was in between jobs looking for the next career move. And a friend of mine said, hey, can I turn in your resume to my company, Accenture, consulting company at the time? I get $5,000 if you get hired. So I said, yeah, go ahead, turn in my resume. Then I get this call from a company that I know pretty much nothing about, and I'm looking them up on the internet real quick to try to learn real quick what they do. But they say, hey, we want to bring you down to DC for an interview. When can you come? And first thing in my mind, hey, I have friends in DC. Let me come spend the weekend in DC. Still know not much about this company. But then I met people, learned about it, and it was all through that network of people I met that made me want to try to work for this company and try consulting out.
Awesome. Tasha, how about you? How has networking, building and nurturing a network played a role in your career journey?
Oh, as he said, everything. It still is a who you know business, and I'm sorry to say, but it's not a nepotism or quid pro quo type of who you know. Anybody would prefer to work with someone that they know. You would like to get a referral for your next plumber or your next mechanic from a friend rather than Googling and finding a stranger. So if I could list real quick, I've worked at Caltrans, RBF Consulting, Caltrans again, Arcadis, Metro, and now as a business owner have contracts with Caltrans and LAX and Long Beach Transit. And these are all because I knew someone who said, you know, I know someone and she's really good at what she does. Here, come over here. Or here, take my resume. Or here, let's team up on a contract for something. It's always about somebody that I met in a networking meeting, in an organization volunteering, or a connection with a friend. So I was unemployed as well in 2011 with 5 children. Both my husband and I were unemployed the same week. No, excuse me, on a Thursday and a Friday. And that gentleman, Sheldon, was one of our trustees of our church, and my husband was one of the assistant pastors. And before that happened, on the Thursday I was laid off. The Friday we were leaving that church because we were called to another church. My uncle was 82, and we felt we needed to leave one church where we were getting paid and go to his church. Well, the Lord knew, we didn't know, the day before I was going to get laid off. So the question was, do we leave anyway? Sanity says, no, don't leave a part-time job for, you don't have anything. But we knew without a doubt that God told me to go leave Caltrans and go to work for Arcadis, us to leave Covenant Blessing and go to my uncle's church. And sure enough, within 3 months, I met an old person that used to be my boss. And she said, I need you. I know what you do. I know. And I went to work for LA County Metro. It was just, and trust me, I passed out resumes. I did all kinds of stuff. And I'm an old school. I'm kind of between the new and old. So I did resumes and did the online thing, and nothing was happening until I met one of my old friends.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things I wanted to add to this is, in business, it's exciting to get excited and motivated about whatever the product is or service is that you're trying to sell as a firm or a company. But so much of business is really actually about managing risk. It's clients are trying to bring on the appropriate consultant because they trust them, they know they're not going to go over budget, they're going to manage the process well. But in life, it's also about, if I'm going to bring on a new employee, I'm sorry, I do a lot of recruiting in our firm. Employees are risky, right? None of us are robots. It's all about, is this person going to fit with our culture? Are they going to align with us? Are they going to add value? Or are they going to be a constant headache? And so if somebody says, hey, I know this person, they're great, all of a sudden my risk level has just gone down. And I say, I'm going to give them a shot because, one, I trust this person who recommended them, and they're not risky. So a lot of it is about risk management. And when it comes to managing businesses, I think that's what's important. The other thing I was going to add too is I lost my job in 2010, okay? 3 kids. And at that time, I just started talking to all of my contacts that I had and talking to everybody that I knew, informing them of what had happened. And within a month, I had a new job and a new career.
Yeah, and the odds are all, there's so many research studies, the odds are so much better that you find a job just through expanding your network, building your network, and talking. Edgar, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll add that. So for me, it's particularly difficult, pretty hard to nurture or to even network. I'm a full-on introvert, and in the job that I do, I have to be the extrovert, and so often it's out of fear. It's to be able to connect with people that I don't know. It takes a lot. Now with some with social media, it makes it a little bit easier to hide behind that screen. But I would say it takes self-awareness to know that I am an introvert. Therefore, I need to try harder and be more conscientious about who I connect with. So what I do is I start with friends friends of friends and networking and getting together with them and getting to where do you work, what do you do, I do this, they do that, and building those first, similar to what Joaquin said, it's those friends. So especially for me as an introvert is go with the people that I know, expand that slowly, and then you're going to meet people that you don't know who then work for different companies, different organizations. You're going to share your resume, share your elevator speech to them, and then opportunities come by.
Yeah, so from a networking perspective, like I've never actually applied for a job cold. I've been lucky, blessed, you know, Lord's watching out, but it's always based on I already know someone that's recommended me, and so in fact, I think up until Biola, I didn't have a resume that was current because I'd always moved from one job to the next. Someone said, "Hey, I want you on my team. You know, can you come over here?" So that idea of it's not, you know, what you know necessarily, but it's really the people that you know and the connections you have. To take a slightly different kind of tack too, in my career, I run a customer support team, and we're a growing team. Like when I started, there were 3 of us on support. As I went through the MBA and kind of moved forward, I was leading the team because it just became the obvious choice. And as we got bigger, we started having challenges. And I'm like, geez, I need to find someone that can help me, that has gone through, these aren't unique challenges, but they're not stuff that were, you know, covered in the MBA or that I hadn't had experience of. And so I got at Google and said, hey, like, are there groups of people, professionals in the support community that I can get together with and talk, you know, have a Tiger team or something with, I just want to talk to people that have gone through what I've done. And I stumbled across a Slack community that's focused on customer support. And I think when I started, they had 500 or 600 people in this community. We've got over, I think 4,500 or 5,000 now. And they're people from all different, you know, customer support careers all around the world. I have friends in New Zealand and Australia. I know people at big companies that you've heard of. And I know the people that run the support teams there. And I was able to kind of approach that community and looking for something, but also looking to say, hey, how can I help other people that have gone through or that are going through what I've already gone through? How can I help guide their course and help them out? And for me, that aspect of networking, both online, you know, like we're talking about, and then through conferences that organization has, meeting people face to face and connecting with them has really made a big difference. And as at some point, I won't be where I'm at. I'll be at a different company, and when I'm approaching that, I know people now in the community that are looking for someone that has my experience, that are, you know, running a bigger team at an enterprise level. I've got connections, and I can say, oh yeah, I know the person that runs that support team. I know the person that runs that support team, and they know, hey, if we're looking for someone, you know, we know Matt Dale because he's been involved in the community, because he's spoken at our events, and he's a good guy. So I think that networking is really important, not just from a, hey, how do I get a job, but hey, how do I level up in my skills and abilities and you know, help
It's
the
a
community.
really important innovation, creativity skill. That's how you get new ideas. And I think so many times, I know for me, I get kind of stuck into groupthink. When I was working at Beckman Coulter, you get complacent. You're not pushing yourself to get outside of the organization, find new ideas, and you can't do that if you're not networking. So that's a great point. Awesome. Well, I'll go back, Joaquin, go back to you. I've heard some people tell me that they think network's kind of a self-serving endeavor. It's kind of sleazy. It kind of makes one feel like you're taking advantage of people. How would you respond to that comment?
Well, one, I would say this: you're doing it wrong. I never think networking is just about self-serving. It's always being on both sides of being a mentor or being a mentee, and networking with different people. I always find a mutual benefit there. It's not just about, hey, I want to network with this person to see what you can do for me, but it's also, what can I do for you? And I always like the example in the Bible when Jesus chose his 12 disciples, right? Was Jesus just self-serving and going to pick these 12? Or did each of the 12 really benefit from being one of the disciples of Jesus? And I think we can look at it on both sides and see the connection there of what Jesus was able to bring to those 12 guys. We can say they were networking. And then what the 12 were able to do once Jesus was gone. And he left them, basically said, now you fulfill the charge. And so when networking, we got to look at it a lot of times. It's not just what you can do for me, but it's also about what I can do for you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. So the role that I have at my company is I do a lot of the business development for our firm. So professionally, I'm supposed to be networking, and I'm supposed to get out there and talk to people in the industry. I consider networking to have 2 main avenues. One is a professional avenue where you go to an event, everybody knows you're there to get a job, gain something. And so I can go up to a stranger and say, hey, hi, I'm Brent with CA Architects, how are you? And that's not a strange thing to do. The other side is more on the personal side of things, and that's really where you have to be careful. Just a quick example, my wife and I used to attend a very large church, and we struggled trying to meet other couples and other friends. And what seemed to happen more and more often was we'd get people who come up to us and say, hey, yeah, I'm a realtor. And great, okay, you're a realtor, I'm this. And we talked, but every single time we talked to them, it was about how they could gain our business when we looked to finally sell our home someday. Or we would get a basket from them for their realtor job. Or I had the wife who approached me to sell stationery to the business that I work for. It got to a point where we left that church because there weren't, to me, I couldn't trust them to actually be my real friend. And so on the personal side of things, what I would say is just be people's friends, right? Let them know what you do. Be friendly with them. Don't have any other motivation other than that. And if you're a good person and you love God and they see him in you, they're going to go, you know what, I need this. And hey, Brent does that. Or Joaquin does that. I'll just give him a call real quick. But you don't need to push anything other than that when it comes just to the personal sphere that you're in. Professional, different. Go after it. Be a shark. Go after those goldfish. So.
One more or no?
Could I, maybe,
It's okay.
Tasha, could you go ahead and say what you can say, but also maybe three of you, when you think about expanding your network and knowing you need to nurture and build it, how do you target people? How do you actually target people to grow your network?
That's good because actually it's tied into that question. I used to actually believe that, believe it or not. So I read a book. I used to be in Amway, sorry. And I read a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I hated that book because I was so thinking it was so selfish and I don't want to walk up to somebody and just beg them for something. And I felt like I had an ulterior motive and I was asking them for things and I had to, my mentality changed when I went, the year I was unemployed, and I joined an organization called AACE. It's for American Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineers. And there's other professional organizations you can join that belong to your profession. I'm also part of PMI, Project Management Institute. There's political organizations, there's Chamber of Commerce, there's all kinds of organizations you can be a part of. But when I was unemployed, I went to the Disneyland Hotel, they were having a convention. And my intent was to do what the Win Friends and Influence People was and to collect all these cards, and I just wanted to get a job. And I went there and my mentality completely shifted when I sat next to a woman and she told me she'd been serving in this organization for the last 10 years or so. She said she got her, no longer than that, maybe 15 or so years, because she said she got her last 5 of 6 jobs from people in this room right now. Because I confided in her, telling her I was unemployed, because of course I'm looking for a job. She said 5 of 6 people in this room gave me my last positions. And I said, what? She says, I serve. I get here, they need someone on the scholarship committee, I say yes. They need someone to help them set up tables, I say yes. And when they say, oh, do you know anyone looking for a job? Oh yeah, Deborah, or whatever her name was, I don't even remember her name. She'll do your job. My mentality when I left that was serve. Isn't that Christ's purpose for us in this planet, is to serve? And so then the Holy Spirit will then plant in someone's mind, give Tasha a chance. I know Tasha, I think she'll do a good job. Give her an opportunity. So my mentality completely changed when I joined those organizations and started to work and be a part.
Go ahead, Edgar. Any thoughts on how kind of targeting people, expand your network, maybe even setting up an information interview? How to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you have to begin with examining your heart. I think we all of us kind of mentioned this, right? It's your intention, and people feel right out front whether you're trying to use them for something or for whatever project. So I think it's on your approach. And again, as we are to be Christ-like minded, and again, just examine your heart and see if that's the right person, to see if that's the right conference to go to. But I think in targeting, again, I think a lot about that because I have to prepare to go to these sorts of things. So I put myself in there. It's conferences, Kaiser Permanente is known a lot to kind of just drink from their own Kool-Aid. Like they kind of stay to themselves. They're around their own community, and conferences are around Kaiser Permanente. So I encourage everybody that I know, for myself, to make a conscious effort to explore what's outside, whether it's for myself that I'm a nurse, so what else is out there that's nursing, so I can network with other people, get to know other people outside of just my organization. So look abroad, look at different things, and sometimes it's not. One of the biggest things I appreciated from Biola was that I was among a pro golfer, I was among a Chick-fil-A consultant, and I wouldn't be able to have gotten that from an MHA whatsoever. And again, Christ-minded individuals, and that sat next to me. And I was able to just see about project management, engineering, and now that I've built that network, so it's kind of targeting like that, and even again, looking through LinkedIn and things like that about common interests or not, project management, healthcare, we're looking at workflows, we're looking to save money, looking at lean management, and project management is one, and engineering, right? When you're building things, remember Paul Akers, spoke in one of our classes, and just lean, and I lean Six Sigma, and so exploring aside from what and what your organization is about, or your
Yeah, I love that. Pushing yourself to go outside of Kaiser and make some connections that can help you get better. And go ahead, Matt. Matt, how would any other comments with that? But maybe we could also kind of start to go into this, at Biola, we're encouraged to think biblically about everything. So how do we think biblically about networking?
Sure. Just to jump back to your last question real quick, for the specific assignment I think that you're talking about, and kind of going, hey, like, how do I see LinkedIn, I see these different places to go. How do I actually put myself out there? I think when you're thinking of people perhaps like us, those are probably who you're thinking maybe of talking to. There's a few things that you want to think about. Number one, like we all want to help people. Like we've all been where you're at.
Even current Biola students, you want to help them?
I actually do. Yeah,
You
isn't
do?
that crazy?
Okay.
Yeah, no.
You guys all hear that? All right,
Yeah,
make
current
sure you're
Biola
okay.
students.
We
In
are
fact,
here for a reason.
I've actually
They
talked to
wanna help.
at least one person in
believe
this
that,
room.
David?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right.
No, so it's no, but I think number one, know that if there are people, be targeted. So go, hey, that person's somewhere that I want to be at. That person has the job that I want to be at in a couple of years, or he has or she has some knowledge that I want to know. Number one. Number two, when you're putting yourself out there, which is really scary, especially if you tend toward the introverted side rather than the extroverted side. Be respectful. Say, hey, I noticed that we have this shared connection here on LinkedIn, or you're a Biola graduate, or I saw you at this conference. Putting your say, hey, I'd like to. Do you have a little bit of time? I'd love to. If it's a local thing, can I buy you a cup of coffee or something like that? Be clear of what you're looking for. Know that I'm busy. I have a really crazy calendar, and I suspect most of the folks here do as well. Like we're busy professionals, so we want to help, but be respectful of that person. Say, hey, do you have 15 minutes? I'd love to ask you a couple questions about this, and this. I'm working on kind of my career, and I saw what you've done in your world. Do you have a little bit of time so I could buy you a cup of coffee, or that we could connect, or would you mind answering a few questions via email, or can we do a Google Hangout video call? Allowing the person to say yes and giving them clarity about what that ask is going to be is really, really helpful, because then they go, oh yeah, I can do 15 minutes, or I can do a half hour, whereas it's like this ambiguous, hey, I'm looking for kind of a mentor, and that's less helpful for me, and I'm going to be less able to fit that into my calendar and my schedule. So I want to help, and we want to help, and these other folks in this larger community and other people that you may not know very well at your company or in your field, they want to help, but kind of setting it up the right way can make a big difference. So that's not so much on the biblical, but I think that's an important thing to be thinking about.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm passionate about that last question too. So can I jump in?
Sorry. Warn me about this.
We're going to rabbit trail for a while here, all right? You're supposed to shepherd us along, right?
Right. So again, my job is to network, right? So the one thing I will say about at least professional networking is be targeted. And that's kind of what you were saying. I always associate it to the shotgun versus the sniper. And what I see so often when it comes to networking is everybody wants to talk to everybody. But guess what? When I get people who come up to me and they have nothing to do with what I do, I enjoy the conversation, but I'm thinking, I can't help you too much. I mean, I'll try, but it's kind of a reach. So I'll tell you exactly what I do. I have a hit list. That sounds weird, especially when I talk about shotguns and
Snipers.
snipers, right? But I actually call it a hit list. But it's a list of the key clients I want to be in, or the key clients I'm already in, of course. And I make sure that I am in front of them, and I'm only going after those key clients. Now, that might be through the network of consultants I use or contractors I work with. But I have a process, and that's the other thing is I would say establish a very clear process of how you're going to do this. So step one for me, I phone call this client, cold call. I'm very quick. It's 30 seconds. Hi, I know you're busy. Can I just email you a brochure? 99% of the time they say, yeah, sure, because I'm not taking up their time on the phone. Email the brochure. Within the email, I say I'll follow up in a week. A week goes by, I call them up again. Next step is to try to set up a physical meeting. Great. I was just wondering if you took a look at the information I sent you. Could I set up a time? Now, I am marketing my architect, so I'm trying to set up a meeting to get my architect, which is my product, in front of them. We then have a physical meeting. We talk about the services we provide and what we do. Then my architect goes away, and I guarantee for the next however many months, every other month, I drive by their office, and I'm in front of them, even if it's for 30 seconds, because they're very happy to hang up or ignore my email. But when I just stop by and, hey, how's it going? Just want to see how you are. And we have a quick conversation, that goes really far. And that's always worked really well for me. So be strategic in who you're going after and create a very specific process for how you're going to do it.
Yep, awesome. Go ahead, Tasha.
I thought about this and I felt like Joseph was a really good networker. And if you think of networking as relationship building, I think he did a really good job of that. And when I say he used his relationships to benefit him, it's not in a bad way. It's a matter of, again, finding out what someone needs, helping them with their needs, and then when it comes time that you need something, they're there for you. Yeah, now the first guy forgot, didn't tell Pharaoh, but eventually.
So is he a good networker?
Eventually.
Be targeted, right?
Eventually, he remembered. And he was able to use the relationship that he built with that man in prison, by the way, to benefit him eventually. And you can use Daniel. I mean, the Bible to me from cover to cover is all about relationships. So if you take out the dirty word of mixers and, networking sessions and roundtables, it's just relationships. Then that's what Christ is all about. He's all about relationships.
Joaquin, anything from your end, thinking biblically about networking or how to set up an information interview to expand your network?
Yeah, I always, my number one rule with networking is always try to find something in common with the other person. And even when it comes to business networking or personal relationship networking, usually aim to find something in common. So even when I'm going to sell something to a client or we're trying to expand an account with the client, it usually starts off with, hey, I heard you guys traveled to Australia. I used to live in Australia. How did that go? And then it opens up the door to build, as Tasha was saying, to build that relationship. So it's not just, hey, he's just in here trying to get money from me. Two, it's all about value as well. I never, especially when it comes to sales and networking, I never want to go to somebody and just say, hey, I really need your $5 million for this account so I can make my numbers this year. No, it's, hey, I have a really good product and I know that you guys are going through a situation right now where you need to do some transformation in your company, and I really think that I can help you. And it's more of a mutual benefit that I look for a lot of times. So I kind of went off on a...
No, that's good. That's good. Matt, after you completed your MBA degree, how did you use that credential to advance your career?
So I may not be the best poster child for that, at least in the formal sense, because I've still been at the job that I was at when I guess maybe take a step back. It wasn't completing my MBA degree that was actually the helpful part. It was the interactions I had through the process. So when I started, I was working as a service manager at a small kind of mom and pop computer repair place. It was a good job. I was moving up as far as I probably could, and I knew I needed to take my skills to the next level. And so going to Biola, in that process, I got connected with mentors and professors, one in particular who was acting as a consultant at a law firm. And he's like, hey, we need someone like you at the law firm. Are you willing to relocate from Ventura County down here? I think it'd be a great opportunity. And so halfway through I guess started my second year, I switched jobs and moved my family, my wife and I, and it was a really hard job. It was a lot of growth, a lot of challenges through that process, and that was great. And it was a law firm, and lawyers sometimes like to sue each other, and so the two partners decided they didn't want to be partners anymore. Larry Mobley's class, never have partners with anyone. Like for your business, you listen to that. But they were basically the firm was blowing up, and I'm like, hey, I'm my job is going to be over. I don't really like to go with either guy. I was kind of like trying to choose your parent, like which one you want to be with. And I'm like, this is weird. I don't, and I'd seen enough kind of messy stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want to be here. And so, again, started using my networking, and same professor actually connected me at the job that I'm currently at. So I was 2.5 years into a 3.5-year MBA at that point. Process when I switched to Illuminate, and I've been there since that. So it wasn't that the degree itself got me the leg up, like I think in some of your cases where you're like, hey, if I get this, I can take the next step. But it was the people that I interacted with and the skills that I learned through the process that was
making
really
an
helpful.
effort to build relationships with your peers and
Yeah.
your professors, and that expanded your career.
Well, and again, that goes
Very,
back to
yeah.
what I said earlier. Like, I haven't had to apply for a job. It's always been hey, I know someone and they know someone, and kind of the connecting of two people results into something good for me. So I think that's been super helpful.
Awesome. Edgar, what encouragement would you give to these students? Some are getting a little bit tired. How would you motivate them to keep going? Because there is value in getting that MBA and helping advance your career, isn't there?
It's a loaded question, actually. I mean,
Run away.
that's right. That's right. No, I
Quit
think
now.
we can all share something. I mean, I wish there was little golden nuggets that you can take away from all of us. And first, I have to say so I did get my promotion through Biola through having a master's. It's really required. When I had my bachelor's, I was ahead of the game a few years ago, and now it's master's. It's you got to have it. You got to have it just to even pass recruitment. So Biola again helped all the way. So what would I say? I would say, don't get discouraged. I would say, take any opportunity that you can get. Sometimes I think we get caught up in, I deserve this, or I deserve better, or I deserve that. And sometimes you have to pray and think about if it's something that is coming to you and God's bringing to the table for you, that's in front of you, and sometimes he's not. And pray about why not? Is he, what is he, what trial are you going through? Is it patience? Is it persistence? Keep knocking on that door, maybe it'll open. Or is it grace, right? That every job that we have, every opportunity that we get, it's only through God, only by God, only because of God. That's what I would leave off with.
Awesome. Preach it, brother. Nice.
Preach.
Yeah, good job. All right. Brent, what advice do you have for the students out here tonight thinking about a new career path, might be in between jobs in transition, or somehow just wanting to leverage their MBA degree into a promotion in their current organization?
That's a good question for me, actually. I started the program in the baseball industry, actually. Never played baseball in my life. Actually, really don't like baseball. But I worked in a baseball company for 7 years. I was their operations manager for their distribution center. I realized after about year 5 that this is just, wasn't something I wanted to do the rest of my life. We were moving boxes all the time, and it got a little boring. So I came to Biola in the MBA program specifically to change careers, which was very daunting, very scary. I had no idea what I was going to end up moving into. And I had a lot of, sleepless nights and trust in the Lord. A lot of long conversations with my wife because she was definitely supporting me through that. But just like Matt was saying, it was a network of professors and mentors who interacted with me, knew that I was trying to do this, and helped me, just introduced me to certain people. And one thing I will say, just as a side note, Matt and I both mentioned professors and mentors helping us. I want to be careful with that, okay? My mentor had helped me multiple times finding a new career, finding a new job. And at the end of the day, he actually offered me a position, and I turned him down. And I turned him down because I never wanted to abuse that relationship that I had procured over the last 2.5 years, because there was something special about that. And we just each have to be careful not to look at our mentors or not look at our professors as just, oh, they'll find me the next job. If you perform in class, if you perform in life, if you are just awesome at what you do, nobody can ignore you. And they're going to go, you know, I heard of somebody needs somebody, and you know what? They're awesome. I'm going to pair them up. So if you just focus on just being fantastic, it'll happen. But what I would say is this program enabled me to really redefine myself. I had to stretch myself, and the MBA program has allowed me to enter into boardrooms of companies, know what I'm talking about, participate, and then allowed me to advance to actually become a partner in a firm that I have no idea what architecture really is. So,
Hey, Tasha, there's a couple students out here. I'm not going to embarrass them, but they recently sent me their resumes. They're in between jobs, looking for a job in the middle of this program. What advice would you give them?
Oh, wow. Use the network, use the professors as much as you can. They're here to help you. Your fellow students. I hired 2 of my classmates actually while I was in the program. I started the program a business owner, and I used every single class. Somehow I left this class and changed my business somehow, and I fixed it. Do whatever you can to send your resume to as many people. But more than that, I promise you the black and white is nothing compared to a face-to-face. And social media is as good as it is, but if you can find an organization that's in your industry that you want to go to, whether it's in your current industry or a new one, start being involved, start getting to know people. People like to be with people they know. It's the way God made us. So, and I'll just tell really quick how I hired Chrissy. Chrissy was one of my classmates that I had already been in the program a year, and here come these new millennials into the class, and all of us had been in school, not only been working for years, and these newly graduated students come in. And I was always the one to turn in my work first online, wasn't I?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Always turn it in first. And then one day, this girl started turning in her work before me. And I was like, who is this person? You know, because usually when I turned it in, no one was there to respond to my work. I had to wait days until someone was ready to turn in their work. Well, she started turning in before me and then immediately responding to something that I had a quick response. And after that class, I waited till one more class and I saw her present, and I just called her down for coffee. We went over here and had coffee out in the courtyard, and I said, what are you doing? I like you, I like your posts. What are you doing? And she was working at anthropology, and I said, please work for me. And she worked for me for 2 years. And she's now at Teradata, and I hired a second one as well. So I just make yourself known. Do your best to make yourself known.
Joaquin, what advice do you have for students here tonight in transition or maybe looking to advance their careers in their current organization?
Good question. For me, it's always been about just knowing what opportunities are out there, talking to the right people. But the biggest thing is really understanding what you want to do. I can't tell the number of people that I've had work for me or work on teams that were just not passionate about their job or what they were doing. And at the end of the day, it turns out they didn't really like what they were doing. And when they didn't like what were doing, they weren't as good at it as some of the other people were. And so when looking for new opportunities, I'm a firm believer, if you're really passionate about what you want to do, what you are doing, then I just believe the right opportunities open up. As you talk to people, you're happy about, hey, this is what I'm working on and I'm excited about this. And then those people are going to want to say, hey, I want you to come work for me.
Okay, Matt, you'll be our closer here. We'll take some questions from our audience here. Any final advice or thoughts on students in between jobs looking to advance their careers through this program?
Yeah, I think maybe taking a step back, I would say it's important to be able to kind of get outside your comfort zone and kind of put yourself out there. It's tough when you're looking for a job. It's tough being in that market going, hey, like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going. And so being able to talk to people in your network. I was speaking at a conference, which is actually not that hard to do, There's a lot of conferences in your industry that they'll put out a request for a talk, and it's actually like if you can put together a decent proposal, like, oh wow, I'm speaking at this conference in front of 300 or 400 people, and they're in my industry, and now they know who I am because I gave a nice talk for 15 minutes in front of them. So that's really like a good thing to do. But I was at this talk, and my mentor at the time said, it was in New York City, and I love like traveling and looking at new things, and I'd never been to New York City. And he's like, hey, I know you're going to be really tempted. I'm an ambivert, so like I look like I'm extroverted, but I get really exhausted when I do extroverted things. So he's like, I know you're gonna just want to like crawl away and see the city and eat pizza because I love pizza. He's like, I'm encouraging you to say yes on this trip. So when people say, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? Or do you want to go to this event? Or do you want to do this? Say yes. And it was like, so I made a conscious decision at the beginning that I made a little list of the people that I knew from the community online, from slacking them and talking to them. And I said, okay, these are like the 5 or 6 people that I want to make sure that I have a face-to-face connection with at this event. I know they're going to be there. I saw the list of who's going to come. I'm speaking. I want to make sure I connect with this guy. I want to make sure I connect with this gal. And then I made and intentionally said yes. And I went to Indian food. I don't care for Indian food, but there was an opportunity. And I said, okay, well, I'm supposed to say yes. So I said yes. And I sat down next to 2 people. We made a great connection. And so I guess I would just encourage each of you, don't hide and don't be afraid. People are out there and they want to connect with you. People like us want to help. There's a whole network of people that want to help. But it takes you getting outside your comfort zone and going, I'm going to say yes instead of staying and doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's awesome, Matt. Thank you so much. And that's why they have an assignment to do just that. So thank you
Say
so
yes.
much for reinforcing that. Okay. Questions? Yeah, give a hand. But they're not done yet. They still have more work to do. So they're not off the clock yet. Okay, what questions do you guys have for our panel here about? Yes, go ahead, Julia.
What I've done, I have to consciously think about it. I've said it like 3 times during this time. I use my calendar. I'll actually set some reminders on my phone to do it. You know, to people that I haven't spoken to maybe in a long time, be professors that I haven't spoken to in a couple of years, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. I talk to them all the time.
He reached out to me.
Actually, not to be in the panel, but it was totally unrelated. But then I came here.
It's surprisingly easy to talk in front of people, right? You can just say yes.
As a good mentor, again, pushing me outside of my comfort zone. So I would say consciously, yeah, just make, I use Google Calendar, just set those reminders of people that I came in contact with at conferences or things like that. Just, how are you doing? How's that new job? How's that? Yeah, that's what I use.
I'll add to that. I actually have a spreadsheet. I'm an MBA, right? We love spreadsheets. So for all of my professional contacts anyway, I make sure I'm either calling them or having lunch with them or meeting them or going to some event. But I make sure I'm meeting them at a regular interval throughout the year, and that it's not too much, but not too little. It's that nice, sweet balance to where you're present. You have to be present. That's really it. You just have to be there. So, and it can't be just an email. Go ahead. Okay, so I'll segue into that. Yeah, yes, but as we talked about earlier, I like LinkedIn. I'm LinkedIn to, I don't know, lots of people. I don't know the number. I'd say probably half of which are actually in my industry. But what I will say is LinkedIn is secondary to shaking a hand and going to a lunch or getting to a networking event. You have to be present. I used to go to networking events and say, oh, I have to win a client. And I put so much pressure on myself. Now I just go there and I just need to make a friend. If I made a friend, okay, I'm good. Because networking, building a network takes time. You can't just do it in a week. You can't just do it in a couple days or a month. I always tell people to do a really successful networking job and gain new clients, it takes about 2 years because it's just creating friendships.
It is.
It's all about friendships and adding value like we talked about earlier. So LinkedIn, yes. A lot of times I use it just to stay, if I have a question for somebody and I'm not quite sure where they've moved to, I can stay connected and email them real fast through LinkedIn. I send out news information or updates on projects that our firm has finished, and sometimes we'll get comments back. But most of it is driving to their location and just walking in. And if you have that good rapport, they let you do that. So.
take that one. I had a great mentor, Tom Ellsworth, when I was here. And the thing I really appreciate that really helped me was I had just started with my company, maybe as I started the MBA program. And he helped me decipher a lot of things I was thinking, but just had no idea on how to articulate or what step to take next. There were days where we met and I was like, I got to quit this job. I hate this thing. I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? And have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Is it that you really hate your job or are you just not liking the people you work with? And so the biggest thing I always took away from the mentor was almost like my therapist. Was helping me decide, okay, what are you really going through? But then also introducing me to new concepts. Because he would be the one to say, no, you don't really hate it. You just don't like this piece of it. And I was like, hey, you're right. He's like, try and approach it this way, or why don't you look in these different areas? So a lot of it was direction and exposing me to stuff that new things that I just had no clue about.
Some of the great mentors that I've had set up agreements with me off the bat. And the agreements of we're going to meet this frequently, and do you agree with that? Is that too much? Is that too little? And help provide a guide for me and hold me accountable to saying, I committed to going to get coffee this time. And that grew into the trust, into being able to share like a therapist on what should I do, what should I not do. And again, the best mentors just pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And I want you to say yes, right? And it's those words that it's like, yeah, I'll do it, And so that's what I would say.
My mentor, we met every 3 months, and we talked about not just business items. I was going through a lot with family. We had a new baby. I had a new career starting. We had just bought a house. There's a lot of life stuff happening. And I think my mentor, Bob Seaman is his name, was just fantastic at first listening, and then not always just talking about my job and my career, but have you talked to your wife? She's going through this MBA process with you. My wife always jokes that she should have gotten an honorary degree for all the papers she had to proofread at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And so he was constantly reminding me of the lessons that he had learned in his life. He talked to me a lot about his business was very successful and he had challenges personally about some things. And we talked about that. And that has stuck with me to this point. So that the combination of the business and the real world, the life aspect is very important.
That's actually what I was going to say. Just get me, Brent. I unfortunately wasn't able to connect with my mentor while here because my life schedule, and she was out of town with grandbabies. But in the mentors I've had, prayer, please, because in the case of my situation being a pastor's wife, and that same exact phrase was said to me when my husband was at Talbot and I was in the Talbot Wives group. So I did have a set of mentors walking me through my husband getting his seminary degree because they had classes for us. They had ways that we could vent and just pour out because we were dealing with husbands getting their master's degree in seminary. And so I've had plenty along the way, and it was always a time that I needed prayer. The problem with mentors that you try to pair up career-wise is if it doesn't fit with your exact career, in my opinion, it didn't help me organizationally, career-wise. But personally, absolutely, and definitely through prayer and support.
What are you trying to accomplish? What's your goal? So my goal is to advance healthcare architecture, right? So of course I'm not going to talk to somebody in I don't know, commercial construction, high-rise condominiums. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm going to go after the healthcare side of things. But I think you have to establish what are your goals, what's your strategic plan of whatever you're trying to accomplish, in your personal life or in your professional, and then identifying who is within those tracks. The purpose is you just don't want to wait. This sounds bad. No, I'm going to say it anyway. You just don't want to waste your time, right? Time is very precious, and you only have a certain amount of hours every day to talk to whoever or go to a meeting. Meetings kill you. Traffic in LA is horrible. So you don't want to go to a meeting and find out this meeting added no value to whatever you're trying to accomplish. You just have to be very selective And plus, you don't want to waste their time.
Yeah, and I think that time wasting is really important to think about. You know where you want to go with your career. At least you have some ideas. Identifying someone that, being able to come and say, hey, these are the questions that I have. You're in my industry and you're further along than I am. Do you have some time to, I'm trying to figure out this, and this. Do you have a little bit of time you can give me some guidance on that? If you don't have a good question or a problem that you're looking to solve or something that they can help you with, if that's not clear in your mind, then you're jumping the gun. You should not be shotgunning or sniping or anything at this point. You need to figure out what you're actually hunting before you get your license to go out and then take that shot. So figure out what you want to do.
Drop the mic on that one.
Sound guy's like, no, don't drop the mic. That's bad. Yeah, but yeah, like figure out what you want to do and what questions you have, and then that's going to lend itself to, okay, here's my question. Here's the person that's going to, or here's a few people that could answer that for me.
The other thing I'll say, though, is if you're still trying to figure that out, pick a couple people, quasi-mentors, and you can just talk to them. I think an important thing is talking to people, friends, family, whoever, just about your situation and what you're trying to do. You never know if they know somebody, right? And I like to do, on the side, I like to do real estate investment. I'm passionate about it. It's not my main job, but I talk to people about it all the time. And guess what? I find out new ways of doing things constantly by just listening to somebody. But it's just because I'm passionate about it. So I'm just talking about my life, right?
So I'm just wondering, I guess maybe I'm a little apprehensive to reach out to men. So I'm just wondering if you guys are ever hyper aware of the judgment that you're targeting the candidate network with, or if that's just something that's an afterthought for you.
That was for me.
I actually have something after you, Tasha. I can add something here too. So
Unfortunately, I'm a civil engineer. So I've had that all my career, even from in school. So I've gotten over that quite a long time ago. It's a male-dominated industry still, but guess what? There's a lot of women coming up. So it's very exciting. No, I have as much to offer as anybody else. So as long as, I think it's key to what Brent also said to the other question, know what you do and that you do it well, and that as you present yourself, then you present your confidence in what you do, and they'll respect you. And there will be no dressing on the document. It'll show yourself for it. So I unfortunately I can't, because I've always been in that position. So I had to get over that quite a while ago. So
The other thing I'll add to that is I have found personally, because I went through that transition of career change and I felt very vulnerable in what I was trying to do. And just being honest sometimes about that and talking to people about that sometimes breaks down barriers, breaks down walls. I have a rule when I talk to clients or so forth. It's a 50-10 rule. And basically what it means is if we have lunch, I listen for 50 and I talk for 10. Because I'm just trying to understand people. I guess my point, though, is I agree with you, Tasha, that it's not an issue for us in our industry, I think, ever. And I think also none of us have to feel that we have to be the most smartest person in the room or the most powerful person in the room. It's okay to just go, hey, I don't know, but I'll find the person who does know. Or even just to say, I feel a little unsure. We have a huge presentation coming up. I'm not 100% sure we're gonna do this. And I told that to the team. It's okay. We'll figure it out. So.
And grace, don't forget God is with you. He's here. He gives you words. He put words in Moses' mouth. He put words in Simon, Simeon, Paul. I mean, the whole Bible.
Words of God, right?
He is the owner of the universe and holding it in its place. He can give you the words, the right people, the situation to actually just show yourself and shine yourself. The confidence, trust me, if you had the confidence, it wasn't God. The moment you are weak, he puts his strength in you so that he can give you the power, so that he can get the glory. He wants all the glory. Okay, I'm sorry. No. But seriously, it's if you get your eyes off yourself and realize that it's him empowering you, then you can do anything and talk to presidents and kings. Amen.
Based off of networking, I guess my question is, has there ever been a position that you applied for and you got that you weren't 100% qualified for?
I have never been qualified for the positions that I've gotten. Just so we're clear, like, I mean, I don't know, right? Like, career-wise, I don't know. I think part of the job is going out there and putting yourself out there and saying, okay, like, let me see if I can get that interview. Okay, I got the interview. Let me see if I can get the, I got the job offer. Great, and then
You built the relationships that know your character, that know your
Right.
work ethic. You've got the soft skills.
what. And at least in my experience, again with my mentors helping, it was a, hey, this is going to really stretch you. This is going to be really hard. And having that person that kind of knew the situation going into it and saying, hey, let's talk about this. It actually strengthened my relationship with him because we were talking then about, hey, how are things going? How are you doing with that? Geez, I'm really struggling here because I don't know. I'm not very good at accounting, okay? Like, I hated the accounting courses. And it wasn't because the course was bad, it's because I'm bad at it. Part of my job at the law firm was dealing with all of our accounting and all of our payables and payroll. And I was like terrified of that. And so I was able to work with my mentor. I made sure that we hired another person to come help with some of that stuff. And there were days that were really long, scary, rough days. That was not my like, oh my gosh, this job was so easy and wonderful. But because I had him kind of in my back pocket and we could talk about it, and I knew that it wasn't just doing it on my own, it was actually easier to do than if I'd just gotten out there and said, I'm going to apply for this job even though I'm not qualified.
I'll add to that.
Her mic's better.
I just recently hired someone who I mean, for again in my field and perhaps in some other people up here too, as long as you meet minimum requirement, right? Whether it's a bachelor's or sometimes it's an associate's degree, but I just hired somebody who didn't necessarily have the skills to do the job yet, but I hired him for character and integrity, and it takes patience, but that's why I'm a leader, right? That's why God made me a leader. That's why all of us are here. It's to mentor, it's to invest in the future and in my organization, or whether he stays in Kaiser Permanente or not. And we were able to see that he had the character, he had the integrity, and others too. It wasn't solely my decision. It was a team's decision. We knew he didn't have the hard skills to do the job, but we knew we were hiring him because of his character and his integrity and his hard work ethic. And since hiring him, he's given it all. He's anxious, he's motivated, he's given it 120%.
Wow. That's cool. I
Other
don't.
questions? Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, like, what is your favorite thing about consulting? And how do you handle, like, obviously what they look like, and how do you handle after?
Awesome. Could always have more consultants. No, I love consulting for the fact that I get bored easy. If I haven't done it since, so I started my career in electrical engineering, and I remember one of my projects, it was designing this electronic circuit breaker that was taking 2 years to go to market. So every day I was going to this lab, designing this thing, running tests, doing all this stuff, and it was just such a long process. And after my typical span is about 6 months before I get bored with stuff. So I like consulting because it's always different projects, different people, different environments. I'm not going into the same office, and I honestly couldn't imagine doing that today. So that's why I really love consulting, because constantly dealing with new people, new companies, new products, everything. And then my schedule is, I think the thing with consulting, once you've done it for getting to that sweet spot of about 7 years, you can kind of decide how aggressive or how relaxed you want to be with it. Some people get to a certain position and they move along a little bit slower. Some people are aggressive and they're looking for a promotion every 2 to 3 years. So you can decide on how aggressive you want to be and what industries you want to be in. That plays into a lot of the travel and schedule and stuff like that as well. I typically travel Monday through Thursdays most week. I'm catching a red-eye flight out here tonight. But I like that part. But I've been doing it for a long time. I'm used to the travel schedule, and it's hard for me when I'm stuck in LA not traveling. And then I figure, I got to go grocery shopping, I have to cook dinner. I got to pick up my own towel off the floor. There's no Yeah, make my bed, all that stuff that you get to enjoy of being in a hotel and ordering room service or all that stuff. So there's a fun part of consulting, but I will say it's also it is challenging a bit. My travel schedules and the professors I had, a lot of times when I was in the MBA program, I was one of the people that turned in my homework last because I did it on the airplane and turned it in on my way to class when I landed. So there's a lot of times of that as well. So it is. I will say it is a juggling act, and it really has to do a lot with people's personalities, where I find a lot of people either love it or they hate it.
Okay, well, let's give our panel a big hand.
Discover who you're called to be at Biola University, a leading Christ-centered university in Los Angeles, with programs on campus and online. Subscribe for more of our videos and learn more at biola.edu.